You may now sit.
Seated.
Never mind. I need Charles to come in here and do this.
That's so neat.
Bench staff, right. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't think my microphone's working. Because obviously y'all didn't hear me say good evening. Oh, that's a little different. How was y'all's day today?
Good. It's weird.
It was great.
Oh, sleep in. Man, you're just sleeping your life away. Come on.
I haven't either.
Are you glad to be home, Ridge? Did you have fun? We're glad to have Mr. Ridge with us tonight, who's doing much better than he was just a couple days ago. All right, let's get started tonight. What were we supposed to be doing tonight? Anybody remember?
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
I've been excited.
It was like,
Dinosaurs.
Tonight? Oh, that's right, I guess so. Now, I would like to start off by recapping a little something from last week. What did we do last week?
hey people,
We what?
hey people.
Cave people. No, not last week we didn't. What did we do last week? What was,
We went through scriptures that talk about that the word is inerrant.
Yep.
God cannot lie.
that's correct. We were looking at the inerrancy of the Bible. Why did we look at the inerrancy of the Bible? Anybody? Anybody? Yes. Things. I mean, if we're going to look into, things like cavemen and dinosaurs and dragons and stuff like that, we need to know that what we're studying is inerrant or correct and not telling us stuff that may not be true. Now, one thing I did not give us last week that I just want to show real quick is a list here of, in this case, 29 scientific facts from Bible Scripture. And I'm just going to hit a couple of them for you real quick before we jump into the rest of this. These are things that we know through science, and science has now proven that actually the Bible had already proven, had already proven, but science itself, or mankind and the knowledge of man, didn't prove it till later on. Just one. Anybody know when science proved that the Earth was round?
Well, we didn't actually prove it until we went to the moon.
No, that no, because there's other ways to prove it. So, when did science prove?
Would it have been around like 1500s? Yeah.
Yeah, around. Actually, it would have been around the 1400s, 1500s. Yeah, okay. All right, so that was when that's when mankind said through science, the Earth is round. Anybody want to read to me real quick? Open up your Bible real quick and read to me Isaiah 40:22. Isaiah 40 and 22.
40 and 22?
Yep, the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 22.
I got it.
What's it say?
It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth.
Okay, you can stop real quick. What did you read that again?
It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth.
Okay, so that kind of says that the earth is round, huh? Isaiah wrote that a long time ago. So we know that, maybe science and mankind was a little bit behind that. Just one, look at this one. What about this? Earth is held in place by invisible forces. Right? So it's saying that the earth is not sitting on a pedestal or hung on a string and nothing like that, right? When was that proven by science, by mankind? No. They thought it sat on Atlas.
I thought it was on
The
the
god
turtle.
Atlas. Huh?
That was on the turtle.
That is see, is that Mayan, or that's one of the Indian nations that was their belief. Was that it sat on the back of the turtle, which sat on the back of something else, which sat on the back of
I
something
thought it
else?
was a snake.
Yep, so there's one that's, sits on the back of a serpent, yeah. All right, well, science proved that it was held in place by invisible forces in 1650. Somebody read to me Job chapter 26, verse 7.
Chapter 26.
26, verse 7.
26.
Yeah, 26. Job 26, 7.
Okay, you want me to?
If you got it, go ahead.
May my enemies suffer by sinful people. May my
I don't think that's Job 26, 7.
26 He spreads out the northern skies over everything. He hangs the earth over nothing.
Hangs the earth upon nothing. You know, when was Job written? Anybody know when Job was written?
Some BC.
It was actually like, I would think that chronologically, is it after Exodus? Like
It
it
would
was
be,
fall?
actually it's before Exodus.
Maybe it's after Genesis. I think
It would fall, it would actually have fallen in the area somewhere between
Yeah, didn't
right
Moses
after the
write it?
flood and Abraham.
Didn't Moses write it? Job?
Actually don't really know for sure. But the time frame would have been during the post-Diluvian patriarchal period, because we know Job lived to be a very old man, and that alone placed it in that time period along with other things. All right, but anyway, anybody, if you're interested in this list, and there's a list of 29 things that science is not, some things not until the, well, let me just do one here. Okay, radio astronomy. You know what that is? That stars give off signals. Stars give off signals, and they do. That's something that in 1945, man in science realized that stars actually give off a signal of radio astronomy. Read Job 38:7. Somebody, Job 38:7. What does it say?
I got it.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, 38 seconds.
Job 38:7. All right, go ahead.
When the morning stars sing together in all the sons of God shall be.
When the morning stars sang together. In other words, gave off a signal. Thank you very much. Good job. Science didn't prove that until 1945. Job knew about it way a long time ago. So if anybody's interested in this list, please let me know. I'll be glad to get you a copy or direct you to where you can find it. It's just a list that gives you a few things, such as air has weight. We know that, but Job referenced it. Things, a lot of things to do with disease and with control, quarantine, for control of disease and things like that. You know, it was laid out in Leviticus. All of this stuff is pretty neat. And so there's stuff to help you with the inerrancy of the Bible. That's why I brought that up. Now, let's get going. Let's get started. All right, answering a few questions real quick here on dinosaurs, dragons, and dating. Now, last week somebody, I think one of y'all, brought up about carbon-14 dating, and I told you there was some stuff. And here's some stuff that I told you this, but I wasn't positive on some numbers. All right, carbon-14 can only give an age of about 50,000 to 100,000 years maximum due to its short half-life of less than 6,000 years. That's scientific proof. All right. So, also creationists have been using carbon-14 to undermine alleged millions of years dates. Since carbon-14 should be decayed so much as to be undetectable within about 100,000 years, then a sample tested by using methods based on uranium decay or potassium argon, etc., which yields a date of 200 million years, should not contain measurable amounts of carbon-14 in the sample, and yet such samples have been found. Does that make sense to y'all? Do you understand what that means? That means if we're dating stuff to millions and billions of years and we're using carbon-14, then that's actually impossible because of, and you have to understand about this kind of science. Carbon-14, there should be no carbon-14 left in something, even at 100,000 years. the decay of it would be that it would not exist in it, therefore you, and that's how they use it. They use it to determine the age of something based on how much of it is detectable in the sample. And so you basically, it's not going to yield an honest answer. So that's the debunking of carbon-14. Now, let's jump right into something else. And I'm going to go through this, and then we're going to go to the Bible and look at things. Here's your true or false question. Dinosaur bones have been dated based on the half-life of certain elements at millions of years. Is that true or false? True? True? Okay,
Like the species?
dinosaur bones have been dated based on the half-life of certain elements, or let's say carbon-14 dating, at millions of years old. Is that true or false? There are some that would say,
Scientifically.
some would say, some scientists say no, it's impossible because they understand that carbon-14 couldn't date beyond 100,000 years. So, do you want to know, and we talked about this briefly last week, I mentioned it, how are dinosaurs, fossils, bones actually dated? It's rare that they're ever dated with any type of half-life mineral or element. It's not the way they date dinosaurs. That is actually a fallacy that don't really truly happen. So, Si's about to break his arm. What you got? And which is what? Geologic column dating. That's how you date the age of fossils. Studies what? That would be more like maybe a genealogist, but a geologist studies rocks. Okay, geologist. Yeah, and that's what I said. Well, actually, an anthropologist is who mostly studies human and human behavior. Yeah, but human body, that would be an anatomist. So, a geologist would study, the common perception is geologists study rock, but they study the earth, is what they really study. All right, so geologic layer column dating is how most dinosaur fossils are actually aged. All right, so scientists look at what depth the bones are found, and then they translated it into a date based on uniformitarian assumptions. What does that mean? Anybody know what them big words mean? Uniformitarian assumptions would mean that we have these uniform set of assumptions. In science, if I got any scientists in here, guys and gals that love science, you know that scientific study is broken down into different assumptions and things like that. And then you have to prove things and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, all right. The uniformitarian assumptions, there's two. There's two assumptions when it comes to geologic column dating. Number one is evolutionary old Earth, millions or billions of years, geological column dating. The other one is creationist geologic column dating. And this is, these are two actual observed scientific studies or ways of dating things. All right? That's your two options. Now, if you believe in the old Earth, then your basically your layers become much thinner. All right? And therefore, that's how they justify certain things about the layers. All right? If you believe in creation, you're looking at a much shorter time period, and therefore your layers are actually thicker. And so that's how you get the difference between, okay, the dinosaurs were here, and well, let me just read it from the two. Most dinosaur fossils are found in Cretaceous limestone. If you believe in old Earth theory, then that would mean that it was between 65 and 144 million years old. All right? Now, that set of science said that humans and dinosaurs wasn't on the Earth at the same time, And so they break these layers down to real tiny things, but here's a problem with that. There have been human fossils found in Cretaceous limestone. So it mixed in, and they say it was just that closeness if you look at the long term. Now, if you look at just what we look at typically as a creationist in that short time period, then human remains and dinosaurs are definitely in the same layer there in that same time. When would that time actually coincide with the creationist geologic column? Anybody? When is most dinosaurs and most of those fossils and things like that, where there is a layer in the geologic column that, if you believe in creationism, is packed full of fossils. I mean, it's unbelievable how many fossils are found in this one little layer in the creationist geologic column. When is that coincide? It's the flood. It is the flood. I mean, literally, if you know anything about observing that geologic column dating, it literally falls out, bam, right then at the flood. There is just an amazing amount. That's where almost all fossils are found for scientific study.
Will there be a lot located in one area?
Yeah. Why? And okay, that's a very good point. Why would there be a lot located in certain areas?
Because the water acts as
And we'll give you a description of that water flow. But I'll give it to you. What was significant about what was such a big deal about the flood and the flow of water as far as carrying and depositing in fossils? Right. So how did the water get away?
Going back to that.
The water literally, it receded, and it receded very quickly, and it would have receded in the same way that it come out. I mean, it wasn't all rain. It says very clearly that the fountains of the deep were broken open.
There wasn't rain.
Well, there was rain. Rain started with the flood. All right. So at this time, you got rain falling, and you got these great big springs of water busting open. And this would be where geologically, instead of Pangea, which was originally, because it tells us in Genesis, all earth, all the land was gathered into one place, and all the waters was everywhere else. And if you study this, I mean, there's old earth ideas on this too, about tectonic shifts and things like continental drift and all of those things. This happened when the fountains of the deep busted open. That's when the land became separated.
Wait, I thought it was
No, that's when people separated.
That's the language.
It's when people separated that, but the continents began to break up during that time. I mean, that's the Bible gives. That's what I'm saying. The Bible gives us the answers to all of this stuff. It's there. It's all there. So we have all of that. The layers. I mean, and that's the thing is you have evidence. You have all your evidence. You have all of your facts. You have everything you need scientifically to prove creation to be true. Now, we are supposed to prove creation is true by our faith, not by any other reason. But in order to help people to believe, you have to be able to show that truth, and that's where that comes from. So there is stronger scientific evidence for creation in a lesser age of the earth than there is for evolution and Big Bang theory and those kind of things. And we've discussed some of that as well. But I want to get that to you. Now, let's get on towards the Bible talk here. So, if dinosaurs were real, why are dinosaurs not mentioned in the Bible?
They are.
What? Huh? What? They are?
Yes.
Now, nowhere in my Bible does it say dinosaur.
Using the different words that starts with C.
Wait a minute. Why don't it say dinosaur?
Because translation. Dinosaur wasn't a
Well,
word.
okay, all right, hold on. This King James Version, when was it translated?
Like
In 1611.
And dinosaur wasn't a word until like 1960.
Whoa, actually, it was a little bit later, or earlier than that, but not much. It would have been in 1841. But, you're right, that's right. So, the King James Version does not have the word dinosaur in it because the word dinosaur did not exist in 1611. So, that's why dinosaur is not in the King James Version of the Bible. So, let's look here. Actually, they are mentioned, just like you said, and you old ones remember when we've done this before. So what are the words that are in the Bible that indicate dinosaurs or dragons or things like that? What are some of the words? Anybody? Come on now. Anybody? What words are in the Bible that could be just talking about a dinosaur?
I thought for this
See,
what they like,
what they want?
they wasn't.
There is, there what? There's actually a few different words that are used. And I'm fixing to give you a list of these words. The one that we're fixing to read about in the Bible it's only used, this word is only used once in the King James Version, and that word is behemoth. But behemoth is actually described completely and fully. And you tell me what you think is described. Now we're going to read it right here, and I'll get back to this and get back to some of the other words. But turn with me first to Job chapter 40. Job, see how big a deal the book of Job is? I mean, historically, scientifically, it is just, it's a very important. Chapter 40. Job chapter 40 is the first place we're going. And we're going to look at verses 15 through 24. So Job 40, verses 15 through 24, and it goes like this. Behold now, behemoth. There's your word, behemoth. Now we're fixing to get into a description of what behemoth is. Which, well, first I want to read this. Which I made with thee. What does that mean? What's that significance? Now remember, this is God speaking to Job. This is what these words are. Behold now behemoth, which I made with thee. What does that mean? What is he saying?
That you made the dinosaurs.
Yes. Now, why would he say, which I made with thee? Why would he say it? Well, I mean, when did he make the beast of the field, and when did he make man?
He made it.
What day? What day?
Fourth day.
What day?
Fourth day.
What day?
Fourth day.
When did God create the beast of the field and man?
Fifth day. Sixth day.
The sixth day. Oh boy, y'all got to get to reading a little bit more again. Day 6. All of these animals and man were, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is that continuity of the Bible. Over here in Job, we get reminded that man and beast were both created on the same day. Day 6. That's continuity of the Bible. That's showing you that continuation of the Bible and how it ties together from the beginning to the end of it. That's more of that proof for that. So there's so many lessons in each lesson. But let's read. Behold now behemoth, which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his stones are wrapped together. His bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food where all the beasts of the field play. He lieth under the shady trees in the covert of the reeds and fens. The shady trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook compass him about. Behold, he drinketh up a river, and hasteth not. He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth. He taketh it with his eyes, his nose pierceth through snares. So what does that describe? And I mean, listen to this. And I want you to know, that Bible that I gave you that term, that Schofield Study Bible, in that Schofield Study Bible, it says behemoth is a hippopotamus. That's what it says. That was a common belief at one time. At one time, the church, the Reformed Church, refused to believe that dinosaurs ever existed. They would not accept it. They would not say it would be so, and therefore they came up with other ideas right here. Now, let me ask you this. Y'all familiar with what a hippopotamus looks like? It's big, right?
The most dangerous animal on earth.
And it is. It's an extremely dangerous animal. It's a big animal, and
It's the most dangerous omnivore
on Earth. That's right. That is very correct.
Because it's not intending to eat you, but it will
It will
attack
kill
you.
it. That's right. All right. And it does hang out in the water a lot, right? So we got that in that description right there. But let me ask you something. How big is a hippopotamus's tail?
Really good dude.
They don't even have, it's like a boxer tail. It's like that.
Well, it's a little bit more than a boxer tail. On that big old hippopotamus, which is humongous, the tail's probably about this long. And it's about this big around, and as Jessica was just pointing out there, he'll swing it around and stuff like that. The tail is small. Now, what did it say there in verse 17?
He stiffens his tail like a cedar tree.
In mine, it says he moveth his tail like a cedar.
Yeah, that's what mine says too.
Okay, all right, and it's saying the same thing. But, so what does that mean?
With a long tail.
It's thick, and
It's big,
and long like a
and it's big, and it's strong, and, all right? So that don't sound much like a hippopotamus to me. Now, let me see. It talks about how strong he is. The strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. In other words, his central body is where his strength is. It's just, he's got this unbelievable strength, and it's all in there. It describes his bones as just being extremely strong, and it describes his muscles and his tendons and his ligaments and all these things as being these strong things, just extremely strong. All right, that's just and big and just strong and all of these things. It's talking about all that. It's talking about the fact that he eats grass and herbs and stuff like that. He's not a carnivore. He eats grass and things like that. He hangs out in the shade, in the water, and he's eating grass and all of this kind of stuff. He's so big, though, that he can stick his little old mouth down there, and when he drinks out of the Jordan, which is a river, he can drink it up. That means he's got to be massive. He's got to be huge. That's what it is saying. He can drink it up to, and it'd be obvious that he just drank a whole lot of water out of this thing. Right? It's a big, huge animal. Anybody know what a sauropod is?
Like a top?
A sauropod. It's a family of dinosaurs. What is one of the dinosaurs that's in the sauropod family?
Triceratops.
No.
No, Loch Ness.
What? Brontosaurus, something like that?
Loch Ness.
Yeah, those are sauropods. Now, even science that's not part of the creation side will tell you a few things about these animals. One, that they're huge, they're massive. They're these monstrous things with these big tails. Y'all seen pictures, I'm sure, and I was going to pull one up and I forgot. And you know what one of the big keys was about them, that they learned about them? They were vegetarians, and they like to hang out around the water. That's what science has proven through their studies about this particular dinosaur. And Job described this dinosaur to a T. About 4,000 years ago. So we do have a description of a dinosaur right there. Dinosaurs probably existed. So let me read a little bit more here. Let me see where was I at on this. There, that was it. All right, so let me look at that a little bit more. Let me tell you a few more words that's in the Bible that we're fixing to look at real quick too. How many times, or is the word dragon in the Bible?
7.
Dragon is in the Bible 19 times. Dragons with an S, or plural, is in the Bible 16 times. So dragon or dragons is in the Bible quite a bit. Let me tell you some other words that you're going to encounter in the Bible. Leviathan, 5 times. What is a Leviathan? It's not
Bison.
Isn't it?
a sea monster.
Yeah.
No.
A Leviathan is a sea monster. That is what is a Leviathan is, okay? Here's one for you. The word unicorn is in the Bible 6 times. The word unicorns with an S, or plural, is in the Bible 3 times. So we got all of that in there. I'm going to keep going and then we're fixing to come back to some of this. Now, you would think that a creature of such threat to life and sheer size would be mentioned at least in passing, right? Right? Okay, they're talking about that, about their threat. I mean, dinosaurs were big and bad and mean, right? Huh?
In verse 19, I don't know what it says in the King James, but this one says, only his maker can draw a sword against them. I mean, that's basically saying that man lacked the ability to
A single man couldn't beat
kill
this
him
animal.
or beat him.
Right, yeah, and that's right, and that's what it does kind of say there. Yeah,
It's not about dinosaurs, we're talking about the pure size and how big they were.
right.
How big was the, what are they called?
Long neck.
No, it was
Velociraptor.
a demon.
The
Or
what?
an angel with later nature of demon. And
The giants, the Nephilim. We'll get into that. Yeah. We actually have the book, and we can do it again. Send me your requirement, please. I mean, send me exactly what you want to study, and we'll go over it. Send that to me. All right. So, now I got really lost as we started talking about giants. But anyways, let's answer that question real quick. All right. So we watch movies. We know that T-Rex and Velociraptors and all of that stuff are mean and vicious and eating people and all that, right? I mean, am I right? Anybody? Yeah. I mean, so that's what's going on with dinosaurs. So then, why does the Bible not tell us about dinosaur attacks? Huh? After they're dead? Well, let me ask you this. Somebody read to me Genesis chapter 9, verse 2. Genesis 9, 2.
They weren't allowed to kill.
Genesis 9, 2. What does Genesis 9, 2 say?
All the land animals will be afraid of you. All the birds in the sky will be afraid of you. Every creature that moves along the ground will be afraid of you. So will every fish in the sea and every living thing in the under your control.
Yes. So before the flood, why wouldn't we know or hear about attacks?
They're scared.
Before the flood. That's Genesis 9, 2. That's
Humans,
after the
because
flood.
humans, were they stationary yet? We actually,
What did you ask?
Before the flood, why would there not have been
Are
these
you talking about like
dinosaurs
before
eating
sin
people?
was introduced?
No, I'm just talking about before the flood. Go ahead.
No one ate meat before the flood.
Including animals. Everything was a vegetarian before the flood.
Ew, I would not have liked that. I love
I mean, that's Bible. That's the Bible. In the Bible, it tells us that before the flood, we didn't eat meat. We didn't eat meat. Animals didn't eat meat. And we all ate. We were vegetarians.
you just ate products of animals.
So we were all vegetarians before the flood. But after the flood, this is what the Lord done. He put the fear of man into all animals. And so you've got to realize that that dinosaur, whatever dinosaur there was, and there wasn't all these dinosaurs that they tried to say there was. There was a limited number of different types of dinosaurs. They would have been avoided
What
then.
about the bones?
Well, yeah, and I can ask that. Do you know how, and I haven't done this study exact, but many dinosaurs, types of dinosaurs, have been named off of a single bone or less. All right. One dinosaur, and I can't remember which one it was identified by a single tooth that when later studied turned out to be like a mule's tooth or a horse tooth. So the truth is that there wasn't all these a bunch of different types of dinosaurs. There were probably a few different types of dinosaurs, and that's what they were. And the truth is, we still do got some types of dinosaurs, and alligators and lizards and stuff like that, reptiles. You know, so that is literally a continuation of dinosaurs, of what they would have been like. Now, just real quick, Widget, what now we've got the problems. Never mind. All right. Let's keep looking at this real quick so I can get y'all done. All right. Now, why then, though, were there still not dinosaurs around, not now? For what reason? What? The meteorite. That's that theory we learned in school later. Meteors didn't kill dinosaurs.
But don't meteors kill people?
Well, they probably could, but since we don't really, in observable history, we've never had that. We've never had a catastrophic meteor
That
strike.
wiped out the whole.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing you got to look at. When it goes to the meteors do hit Earth sometimes. And there's actually been a few people in history that's documented to have been hit by space debris
Yeah, I've heard
and
that
died.
in their head event.
Yeah, and it's happened. Now, there has never been an observed catastrophic meteor strike on the face of the Earth. Not observed. All right, some would say, well, of course not, because everything wiped out after the meteor hit. And, okay, that's your argument, but based on my Bible, I can't find that to be there's no evidence of that. So, why are they not here? Why are there not dinosaurs still here? Anybody?
Flood.
No, there's dinosaurs after the flood because we know that all kinds of animals come through the flood. Not saying that every animal comes through the flood. We know that all kinds.
Yeah, there still are. There still are. It's just they simply not so small. They whatchamacallit.
All right, so why there's no brontosauruses left? There's sauropods.
Well, they certainly would have fit on the ark.
We know how big the ark is,
That's
don't we?
right.
They wasn't able to.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Man hunted that extinction.
Okay, there's one theory.
I don't wanna say they evolved.
But they adapted. They adaptations.
They evolved to their surroundings.
That's actually an adaptation, not an evolve. But I know what you're saying, yes. All right, anybody else? Got out? Have we ever seen that happen before?
Like dying out, like putting someone
Like
in
the
a room
polar
and dying.
bears and the penguins.
We still got all three of those.
Like different types.
Pangea split up.
If most of the dinosaurs were in a specific region, and it splits up, it's like supply and demand, possibly could have affected.
Well, we do know though that anything living on the earth that wasn't on the ark at that time did die. So we still would have had a spread to those areas. That's the thing. But that's where, and this is where, and we might get into this one sometime, the Ice Age. You're like, wait a minute, there was no what? Yeah, there was and an Ice Age simply means a cooler earth. It's not, and there you go. There were land bridges, and there's evidence to prove that as well. And the distance between Russia and Alaska, anybody know how the distance is?
They're not that far because
It's 90 miles.
the.
Yeah. So you're talking about basically almost all of the northern hemisphere being connected. Oh, wait a minute. Also, almost all of the northern hemisphere has at times been connected, and that in turn means that almost all of land at some time has been connected because Africa connects, until the Suez Canal. The land bridge there between Alaska and Russia You also have the fact that North America and South America was all connected to the Panama. So basically, all of land was still connected until we dug some canals. So things do move around. So, but fossil would have shown where, how many, the greater congregations of things, more fossils in those areas and things like that. So anyway, all right. Well, and y'all hit on it. I mean, just like any other thing, man's gonna hunt. Why would man hunt big dinosaurs? Feed a whole, yeah, you can feed a whole lot of people on one kill. That's exactly right. And what about the fact that
that they couldn't die, so it was sort of by God.
well, now that's talking about what that's saying is that an individual man trying to fight this thing wouldn't be able to fight him off because it's just too massive. It took man, and that's what separates us from animals, is we can reason and we can come up with ways to overcome
No,
it.
it wasn't saying that.
But that's what it was saying. It's saying an individual man's not going to go up here and just kill this thing. He can probably stick it with his sword that he carries around every day, which
But it
would have
wouldn't
been
do
not a real big, I mean, honestly, they would have been a 36 inch would have been a long sword. And if he stuck him with that sword, he ain't killed him. So it takes four. That's what it's about. So you got the hunt. You got the fact that the population of the earth began to expand and grow, and they're pushing things out. And what happens to animals when we expand and we grow? As humans, we take over their areas, their habitat, and we push them out. They end up dying out. What happens to the passenger pigeon? In the 1800s, the passenger pigeon, their migration was, there were so many of them in their migration that they would literally blacken out the entire sky. Us good American sportsmen decided we was going to hunt them because they was easy to shoot them, and in no time, we had literally killed out the passenger pigeon. So you got that, you got the hunt. You got the simple fact of just pushing things out. And so things eventually die out. It happens, if you actually get to the study of it, species extinct all the time.
And possibly after the flood, maybe Pangea was a better environment for them. Maybe there is some truth to, that once the earth split apart, it wasn't conducive to their
Maybe it
survival.
was, and it may have not been. And what else have we learned about, as far as we talked about why some of the patriarchs lived so long, and then eventually we didn't live on, because sin is taking a greater effect. And with sin taking a greater effect, death becomes more prevalent. And so you start to see that. So there's all of that, that answers those questions like that. Now let's look at a few more things real quick. I want to read to you just a few places and I'll get you done. If you'll look, we're still right there in Job. Look at Job chapter 41. And let's read verses 14 through 34. I'll read to you verses 14 through 34. Listen to this. Who can open the doors of his face? And again, this is God himself speaking to Job 41, verses 14 through 34. Job 41. All right, and this is God speaking to Job. This is God making Job realize how Job is insignificant compared to the power of God. All right. Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They stick together that they cannot be sundered. Now I'm going to stop there for just a second. What does that sound like? I mean, if any of you are into dragon movies, what's one of the big
It
deals?
sounds like our bearded dragon.
Yeah, but what's one of the big deals about dragons when they fight dragons? Well, hold on, we'll get to that, but I'm talking about what we just read. The scales are impenetrable, and that's what it just said right there, all right? So let's keep on going. By his neesings, anybody know what neesings is? It probably says it in some of the other translations. Sneezing, or in other words, a sneeze. By their sneezing, a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. In his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. When he raiseth up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold. The spear, the dart, nor the harbington, which is a harpoon, harbington. He esteemeth iron as, or in other words, he looks at iron as if it was nothing more than hay or straw, and brass as though it was rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp-pointed things upon the mire. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh a path to shine after him. One would think the deep to be hoary. Or in other words, that's talking about luminescence. Any of y'all ever heard of luminescence in sea? What is that? Yeah, it's glowing in the water. Okay, that's what that's talking about. All right, upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride. Or in other words, his unbelievable unstoppableness, his awesomeness will humble you. And that's what it's. So what did they just describe? A fire-breathing dragon. Do you know that most things that we have in legend, in this world, comes actually from something that was real? And that's where most of our legend comes from. But it's so ancient that we no longer have evidences of it, and therefore we say it's not real anymore. And that's what happens. That's how things become myths and legends.
Another thing is all so many different cultures that are so far apart.
All had, and describe them all in basically the same way. Yeah, things like that. The dragons are in almost all cultures. And before I go too far, do you know, y'all know what a woolly mammoth is?
Yeah,
What
the
is that?
big thing with tongues.
It's an elephant covered in fur.
No,
So-
it's not. It's not.
It's a type of
It
elephant.
has DNA of an elephant, but it's not.
It's not, that's correct. It is, that's what I'm saying. It is family to an elephant. But it was also considered what? A prehistoric animal, correct? Or in other words, a dinosaur era animal, correct? You know when the last attested woolly mammoth was seen on this earth? Whoa, what? Actually, it was in the 1800s. There is some reputable folks that were part of the U.S. government. I think it was scouts for the Army that observed a woolly mammoth, or they reported it. And they all reported it, that they observed a woolly mammoth in the far west back in I think it was like 1850.
What state?
I think it would have been in what is now Utah, if I remember right. You can research that and see if you find it. Louis L'Amour, the author, actually, he actually did some research on it, and it's in one of his books. And then he puts a factual note at the end of his book about that account. So that's something kind of neat. All right, so we've just read all about dinosaurs. We've read about dragons. We've read about sea monsters, and we got a really clear description of those in the Bible. Correct? I mean, really. All right. What about unicorns?
I don't know.
Let's read a few things, just a few things real quick. We're going to stay right here in Job, chapter 20 or chapter 39. Go to Job 39, verses 9 through 12. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into thy barn? He's describing a unicorn right there. What is a unicorn? What do we think a unicorn is?
It's like a horse with a horn.
A horse with a horn. Right? What did that just describe? A beast of burden. Did it describe a horn? No, it didn't, but you know what? Let's go to Numbers chapter 23. Numbers chapter 23, verse 22. Numbers 23, 22 says this. God brought them out of Egypt he had, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Still don't say nothing about that, but it talks about how strong a unicorn is, right? What about Deuteronomy 33:17? Deuteronomy 33:17 says this. His glory is like the firstling of his bullet, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. And that's all I'm going to read. So why would it say horns, capital, or plural, but also unicorns, plural? What does that mean? It means that means that each unicorn had one horn. That's what it's saying. It's describing that a unicorn would have a horn, or unicorns have horns. That's some of that understanding of English language. So now we have a beast of burden described, which not exactly an Arabian horse, which is what is so commonly, drawn as a unicorn. But rather we have something more like maybe a draft horse, a big old strong horse, and it happens to have a horn.
Largest horse on earth.
Oh,
That
man.
one that was 19.3.
19.5 pounds.
Yeah.
All right, so we get these descriptions now of unicorns as being a real thing too. So you got all of that. So we do get to believe in unicorns. Maybe not like we think about it. Now, there's one last little group that we're going to check on real quick is cavemen, because that's what part of the original question we started this study years ago was. So, what about cavemen? Is that real?
Yeah.
I mean, are we,
What makes caveman caveman?
huh?
Someone that sleeps in a closet. Sleeps in a cave.
Yeah,
So, what do we say when we say caveman? What do we think?
we think people from the old age
Yeah.
that live in caves that
But-
are idiots.
Neanderthals, that's right. And if you're old like me, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure probably sure don't help our study here. But yeah, or if you're old like me, tattoo, caveman. Yeah. Neanderthals is what comes to mind for the most part for the thought of a caveman, which means a simple-minded, can't actually talk because he hasn't figured all that out yet. He's not evolved far enough to do that. Make funny drawings on the wall, stuff like that in the cave. Yeah, that's what most of us think of as cavemen, right? No, very good. Now, let me ask you this. Cavemen, or this Neanderthal, does that put them before or after Adam and Eve? Well, hold on now. Now, if a Neanderthal is real, then where do they fall? But how can they fall after Adam and Eve if they haven't developed language or coherent thought or?
Adam and Eve do have a stop.
Did they?
Maybe Adam and Eve were the only very
You hear what Lance said?
Oh.
His answer.
Yeah. So my point is this, and this was what the question was really about, was that cavemen had to have been before Adam and Eve because they were these dumb creatures that couldn't really think for themselves, they couldn't speak, they couldn't do things.
They just grunted.
Yeah, right? So did that exist? Did that Neanderthal, as described as we just described, did he exist?
No, there's women.
And women.
If there wasn't women, then there would be nobody
Human
on.
beings, yeah. All right, so let's just make this quick work real quick. Go to Genesis chapter 19, verse 30. All right, here from the Bible. Genesis 19:30 says this. It says, well, I'll get there in a minute. And Lot, anybody know who Lot is? Was Lot a dummy? I mean, was he unintelligent? Yes, nephew, yeah, his brother's son. And, yeah, well, actually right before this verse. Okay, so Lot wouldn't have been what we would describe as Neanderthal, would he? you know about Lot, he was actually a really smart guy, intelligent guy, put it that way. That's why he chose where he chose, because he was intelligent. But if he'd had the wisdom of God, he would not have chosen where he chose. That's got to do with Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, but here we go. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him. For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. Does that make Lot a caveman?
Didn't Moses at one, no, not Moses, but, well, what's his name? He wasn't the only one. It was, he had kids with his daughter's tree.
This is it.
That's him. Lot. So does this describe a caveman?
Yeah.
It does. A guy that lived in a cave, correct? And he lived in a cave, it says.
What about a single woman? Did they ever, like, discover like a single woman or something?
His daughter.
Yeah, actually they did. So anyway, here's the point. So Lot was a caveman at a part of his life. Let me read you something else real quick over in the book of Hebrews. Over in Hebrews, real quick. Hebrews 11:38. Hebrews 11:38 says this. Of whom the world was not worthy, talking about the prophets, they wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. Men that lived in caves. Oh, whatever the case may be. So there are cavemen. What you going to do if you're living in a cave?
You have
Yeah, what else are you going to do? You're going to probably draw on the walls and try to nice up your place a little bit. Don't you think?
I think what I would do is I would go out and get a couch for it.
Get a bed.
Get a couch that would
Well,
just be like wrong.
Seems how you don't have a lot of options of stuff. You're probably going to draw on the walls a little bit so you can decorate your home. You know, that's what we all do. Especially women, they tend to try to nice up their home a little bit. No matter what they have, they're going to try to nice that home up a little bit, including the cave. So yeah, cavemen drew on the walls. But cavemen were just like you and me. They wasn't Neanderthals. That's that I can promise you. So real quick, just to wrap this up. Let me see the best way to wrap it up here. Why does it matter if we believe in cavemen, dinosaurs, unicorns, sea monsters, and dragons? Why does it matter that we believe in them? Does it matter if we believe in them? Does it matter? Why does it matter? But why does it matter? Go a little deeper. Why does it matter? Go a little bit deeper than just it's in the Bible. Go a little bit deeper. Why does it matter if it's in the Bible?
Because science tries to make it where they kind of twist it and make it like there's one God. But with the Bible, we have proof.
Hebrews 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So we have to believe. Read verse 3. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Again, creation, we have to believe it. It's faith. That's part of our faith. All right, that's what, and that means we have to believe what's in this Bible. Even those little things like 6 days of creation. Even those little things like dinosaurs were real. Things like that. If it tells me in this Bible, I have to believe it to be so. Because if I begin to doubt any part of this Bible at all, if I doubt anything in this Bible, that means I don't have faith. What does it mean to be saved? When we say, I'm saved, what does that mean? To be reborn. What is it? What does it take to be saved? Let me ask that question. Believing. What is believing? We just
Have faith, not faith.
faith.
Yeah, faith.
What we just said. Faith is that's what saves us. Faith alone. There's nothing else. Faith in Jesus Christ, faith in God, faith in the creation, faith in the Creator, faith in the Savior. That is the only reason. That is how you are saved. That's why it says if there's any part of this Bible you don't believe, then you might as well not believe any of it. Why? Because if you don't have faith, then you're not saved. You must have faith in order to be saved. That's the only way. That's what being saved is. You have faith that this is true. That everything in it is true. That there's nothing in it that's wrong. God couldn't make that mistake. And the best part is John gives it to us both in his gospel and in 1 John, where he talks about the fact, I am an eyewitness to this. So we go back to that part about having faith, not blind faith. We have to believe all of this. Let me just give you this real quick right here. James chapter 1, and I know y'all ready to go. I get excited with this stuff, and I'm sorry. I probably never quit being excited about it. It gets me excited. It's the truth. There is no other truth out there. This is the truth. That's why it makes me excited. But in James chapter 1, verse 3, it says this, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh. What does it matter that I said that right now? Listen to what Brother Spurgeon wrote about this. Note the essential point that is assailed by temptation. Your faith is the target that all the arrows are shot at. Faith is as vital to salvation as the heart is to the body. Can you live without your heart? Can you be saved without faith? No. That's what he says right there. Therefore, the javelins of the enemy are mainly aimed at this essential grace. Your faith is peculiarly obnoxious to Satan and to the world. If you had no faith, they would not be your enemies. Faith is that blessed grace that is most pleasing to God and therefore most displeasing to the devil. By faith, God is greatly glorified, and by faith, Satan is greatly annoyed. He rages at faith because he sees it in his own defeat and the victory of grace. Faith in God as our Creator, Jesus as our Savior, is vital to our ability to navigate this earthly part of our lives. You see, our lives are not just this. When we die, that don't mean that's it. This is just the first part. In order to get through this, we must have faith. We have to believe in what we cannot see. And it's as simple as we have to believe all of it. Without faith, we don't live forever. We die forever. That means you never actually die, but you're dying forever. That's what happens. You're either living forever or you're dying forever. And it's as simple as that. Without faith, we will embrace the knowledge and wisdom of the world. We will begin to mix. We'll see the mixing of things. And we know that without faith, if our faith begins to crumble, then the knowledge, the truth, is going to be perverted. Who's it perverted by? The prince and the power of the air. In other words, the guy that has all power to mess you up in this world. And you know when it started? About 4,000 years ago with a subtle little old snake. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it says. So, thank you for that, Greg. About 6,000 years. So, understand that Satan just wants to get you to not believe a little something. That's it. That's all he wants you to do. That's all he wants. Because once you lose any faith, once you lose that faith,
I would define doubt as a form of temptation or
it
a
is.
trial.
That's exactly what it is. That's
So I would say to all of them that would you experience doubt to know that that is something that is not from God.
That's right.
That is from the enemy, and it should be well regarded
Yes.
as.
Listen, it's normal for us. We're not perfect. We're going to have moments of doubt. We're going to have concerns. We're going to have worries. We're going to have those things. It's going to happen. What you got to do though is you got to be able to fall back on what you know is truth. And that's that God is not the creator of confusion. He's not the creator of doubt. He's not any of those things. He is who he says he is in that Bible. And that's exactly who he is, and that's what we have to believe in. And if you do doubt, if you don't, I mean, you're gonna, and again, don't, if you know you're saved, you know you're saved. Can you have some doubts? Absolutely. When do you have doubts? but what is happening? What do we commonly do when we go through those hardest of times?
We get depressed.
Yeah, but why? Because we get out of our prayer life and we get out of our study life. And we do. It's very hard when you are in a bad place, if there's bad things going on and all. It's very hard to continue on in your prayer life and your study and your prayer life. Y'all heard me talk about the fact that I get up every morning and I pray and I read my Bible every morning. That's where I start my day. Do you think I want to do that every morning? I don't. There's mornings that I just as soon just walk on and just do something else.
I just said at Sunday school the other morning that the Bible says we're supposed to pray in the Spirit, and I said, when I say something about I don't always start there.
No, that's right.
Sometimes.
Hey, I don't either.
Sometimes.
Listen, sometimes I sit there and I say, but I start praying.
Absolutely.
That's right. And that's why we do like Daniel. Over there, that's one of my most favorite verses, Daniel 6:10, that says 3 times a day he prayed. No matter what, he prayed. What does that mean? I have a dedicated time to God. Why do I have that dedicated time? For the discipline. And let me tell you what happens. When I go ahead on those mornings that I don't really want to, and but I go ahead and I start doing it, just like you said, you start anyway. And believe me, there's not a whole lot into it when I start. Those are the mornings I usually end up with the greatest blessings for me, and my greatest blessing for me. Because I do go ahead. I fight that temptation, the doubt, the fears, the flesh. I doubt. I fight. And so you fight against that, and you keep on. And if you will do that, those doubts and fears are blessing. Let me tell you, there's no doubt that I'm going to doubt things at times in my life going forward. But there's one thing that I can promise you. I do not doubt that when I leave this earth, I'm going to heaven. I don't doubt that at all. I mean, I don't, when I hear people talk about faith, it's believing. No, it's not believing. It's more than believing. It's knowing. That's what faith is. I know that God is real. I know that I am saved. I know Jesus died for me. And I know Jesus rose again. And I know because of that, when I leave this earth, I'm going to heaven. Why? Because I'm going to be reunited with my Creator. I know that. That's what faith is. And everybody that, you know, and people say, well, I just don't have that. Then pray harder and read more. That's what you've got to do. All right. Any questions, comments? Are dinosaurs real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to be.
They used to
That
be.
still means they lived, but they're extinct.
Most of them are extinct. Like I said, we got to keep things around. Yeah, y'all ever caught a sturgeon? You caught a sturgeon, you'll believe in dinosaurs. All right. If there's no questions or comments, then let's get right on into our prayer requests. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Are they? I'm guessing that means they're doing better. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that was a very bad one.
Yeah, there was traffic going by me. It was stopping in the middle of the road.
Really, it's crazy. All right.
I felt bad for
I feel bad for everybody that was sit there. Yes, ma'am. How can you get your arm over there? Oh, okay. All right. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand your fatality is dead. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Grandpa and Sarah and Miss Pretty and Billy Jackson.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am. Just one of y'all.
My best
How about we pray for you to do well, and everybody do safe.
And also,
That you help, that you play to your full potential.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Susan Curry, did the conference because we're on the road tomorrow.
All right. Yes, sir.
I got a friend who gets probably straight from Sam. He was in a bad car accident. He was on his phone while driving. I'm pretty sure. He had a broken leg. I think that's all that happened to him. Right now, I'm not positive because
His boss.
he,
His dad, and he graduated high school. He is, he's a great kid, and that's, there's a lot, I can't tell y'all that I did hear, from the family that the two families have spoken and have come together, and they are trusting that God will take care of things that they need to take care of. That's a good sign for Sam, because I
And
don't.
I actually, spoke today with, I work with his sister.
Yeah.
And she said that, if they had ever down in prayer working, and they, just that, there's an immense peace.
And
That
that's,
wouldn't attract you.
that's what I.
I thought that was really sweet.
And that's a good thing, and that means that, because I mean, the bottom line is to be the reason somebody lost their life is for most people, what comes from the last of their life. So it's something I hope that they can do. And look at it, because I do know that family, and that Sam, the whole family is a really good family.
His mom.
It's what?
Mom.
No, I'm sure she is, I mean, that's part of it. That is, but,
that not have.
and it's very possible. We don't remember Sam and everybody involved in that. It's a bad situation all around. Yes, sir. Yep. We will be traveling over the next couple of days, so, let's ask the Lord for traveling grace. Yes, ma'am. Is he like a little Mayfighter or something, hanging out, fighting with the other
Yes,
street kids?
well, because he has this tree out the back of our house called one tree, he goes up there, other people go there, and he's fighting with them.
They got a fight club going on up the tree. Yeah, I know.
I don't know if any of the kids know that my mom's fiance, ex, they were having some difficulties, but he passed away this week. So you guys might know some of his children, but please remember James Lemons, his family, they're supposed to have, they're gonna have a service the Monday after.
And, but that was very good. If y'all do remember the family then.
And please remember Amy, she is,
So, remember the day. It's another bad situation, so y'all do remember. Anybody else?
Andy texted me when we were speaking to you guys, and she said to please put Maggie Wright.
Maggie Wright?
You know Cindy and Tim Wright? They live up there around Indian.
Oh, wait, Tim is the guy that just worked at Maggie. Oh, yeah, Maggie is, yeah.
Maggie is, she was actually at 6 o'clock, they was transferring her to a different hospital in Texas, she was in Texas.
Yeah.
They found a mass in her stomach, and it is cancer. And Cindy was here and Tim was here, but Cindy is leaving tonight on a plane from Panama to go to her, and Tim is gonna drive to them.
So I guess Tim's doing, I know he had a stroke 7 years ago.
Yeah, he's gonna drive out there while Cindy flies to her tonight.
Yeah,
But it is cancer.
she remember her, so, yes, ma'am.
and this is Evers, we've had her on the prayer list off and on. She's back at Mayo Clinic,
She was at work today.
but she's waiting, did she get some results or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, Wendy, oh yeah, you wasn't here Sunday. You were right.
Yes, it needs prayer, for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Foot.
Yes, sir.
The dog Scout. He has like 7 inches.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And also like I don't know, my dog like that's she has 2.
Goodness gracious. All right. Who else? Anybody or we done? Got it all. That's right. So continue to remember to assign Cheyenne, ever go back yet? All right, anybody else? Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's right. All right. Who wants to pray for us tonight? I guess I have to let Cameron since somebody else. All right, y'all bow your heads, please. Cameron's going to lead us in prayer. Go ahead, Cameron. Amen.